So in our plan, we indicated that after 1 month, we'd go back, we would monitor and do an assessment to see how schools have complied, and that would now inform our next step. Our next step we envisage is to have the rest of the classes coming back in case the candidate classes are faring well.
With this statement in October, Ismail Mulindwa, the Assistant Commissioner of Private Schools and Policy Regulation in the Ministry of Education, gave a ray of hope to 13.5 million learners who had stayed at home as their counterparts in candidate classes and university finalists resumed their studies earlier that month. Additionally, in an exclusive interview with The New Vision, First Lady and Minister of Education and Sport Janet Museveni also made it clear that there would be no dead year for learners because such a scenario would only clog the system. But the rising cases of COVID-19 as Uganda enters the fourth peak of the pandemic has now put a halt to these plans.
Anything that affects the life of our children worries everybody, especially for us who are in the education sector. That's why it is important that we don't rush into a decision of opening just for the sake of opening.
For learners like Isaac Mukisa and Vincent Mukasa, hopes of joining their colleagues back in school have all but vanished. In fact, they fear that this might be the end of their academic year. But John Chrysostom Muyingo, the Minister of State for Higher Education, has reassured both parents and learners that plans for reopening are still being worked upon. A decision will be made depending on the counsel from inspectors who have been sent out to re-inspect all learning institutions for their capabilities to comply with the COVID-19 guidelines.
If the reports are tally with what the experts' advice will be, we'll be able to determine when the schools will be opening.
In the meantime, the ministry intends to appeal to Parliament and the Ministry of Finance to grant their requests for more funds to support the provision of home studying materials for these learners. Because the ministry is cognizant of the effects that the pandemic has had on the country's education systems, discussions have been held today on the way forward.
Schools will have to reopen sooner or later. So we urge the government of Uganda and the ministry to continue working on this preparation for full reopening.
Very also important is to have the issue of poor performance addressed. Because we have seen a lot of successes posted, but when you go back to listen to what comes out when examinations are released, let's say PLE, UCE or USCE, you find that there are gaps in terms of output.
Exams body UNEP has also successfully completed the registration process of all candidates for next year's national exams, with a record-breaking 1,181,666 candidates registered.
That's nearly 30,000 more children than we had initially projected. And we have also noticed that despite our fears that maybe a lot of the girls would not manage to register, we have actually seen that 52% of the total number of children who registered for primary 7 exam, PLE, are girls.
The country's COVID-19 confirmed cases currently stand at 25,059 with 219 deaths so far. Joyce Nakato, NTV Tonight.